happiness is you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. All right, we are going to begin. Welcome to the UCI Claire Trevor Drama Department virtual town hall meeting. Please give a warm welcome to our chair, Don Hill.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that we're able to come together and share information about what's going on in the world of drama, where we are, and where we plan to go. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge where we are right now, which is in a difficult spot. And I want to thank all faculty, staff, and students for your incredible diligence and patience and stamina in dealing with these really difficult and challenging times. When I had to tell the faculty that they had a week and a half to switch over to the land of Zoom and put everything online at the beginning of the spring quarter, it was sort of a nightmare scenario as a chair to make your faculty do that, but they did. And my hat is literally off to them for their hard work. Equally, I want to acknowledge all the students, grad and undergrad, for your amazing diligence in going along with this ride. That too has not been easy. And also to our amazing staff who's kept us up and going and focused. So congratulations. At this meeting, we have some very special guests. We have 3 brand new faculty members who will introduce at the end of this town hall meeting, but I'm very excited that they can all 3 join us. And before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge those who we've lost because of COVID-19, those first responders, those nurses, those people in the hospitals, those people in the grocery stores, those people who deliver food to us, all those people who are working so hard and continue to work hard to make us safe and secure as we deal with this unprecedented time. So this is a heart-warm thank you and acknowledgement for their incredible work in keeping us safe. Now, before we go on to exciting new things for summer and for fall, I would like to bring Joel Veentra to the stage to talk about exciting current things that are happening right now before we even get to graduation. So Joel, please join us.
Thank you so much, Don. I'm so thrilled to have this time to share about some of the things that are going on now. Because despite what we have going on, it's fairly exciting that we have so many things still going on that we often forget the things that are going on within our world still. And so I just want to highlight a few of those things very quickly. We have this hashtag going on, which is UCI Arts Anywhere. And you can see that going around and see all the different things that are going on, including next Tuesday at 5 p.m. we have an improv performance. So if you need a little laughter in your life, that is an opportunity for you. We also have next Wednesday at 5 p.m. a career info session that's going to be coming from Segerstrom Center, and there's going to be a Zoom webinar link that we'll be posting and made available for students as well, so people can be aware of that. And there's a host of other exciting things that are going on in our world right now, including Annie Louie has a project called Gilgamesh in Irvine, which is super exciting and is going to be posted online and available for folks to participate in. The graduate actors have a number of final spring projects that are happening, and keep your eyes out for that. And we just encourage you to continue to keep connected with us in this time that seems like we're so far apart. We actually have a lot of things that we're sharing on the UCI Drama Facebook page, as well as being emailed out to you. And you can always reach out to your professors. We want to support you and want to let you know the exciting things that are going on. So if you have questions or want to be connected with us, please continue to do so and know that there's a lot of great art being made. Thank you so much, Don.
Thank you, Joel. So I would like to also remind everyone that on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m., there will be, in fact, a virtual graduation ceremony for the School of the Arts. So that will be on June 13th at 10 a.m. So talking about next year and talking about what we're doing in the time of COVID-19, I've entitled it A Season Like No Other, celebrating the Jubilee year, exploring and creating theater in new forms of expression. And before we talk about what that is, I'd like to have a short video played about what is actually the Jubilee so we have a better understanding.
Our American theater is in desperate need of an overhaul. What would that look like?
A one-year opening night party for
voices of traditionally underrepresented identities.
To share their narratives on the American stage
in a more complicated, nuanced way.
With America as it exists now, not in some imagination of what America might once have been.
Where for a season or a year, we
get together in joyful responsibility, celebration, and change.
We take all the underrepresented groups and we make them, in fact, the center of the American theater, and that's who we produce for a year.
And I hope many, 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 many people will join us.
Thank you, Joel, for playing that video. And before we actually talk about specific shows or projects, I would like to talk about our plan of how we plan to explore these projects. One of the truly awful things or difficult things about last spring was having to cancel productions. That was very heartbreaking and painful for everyone. So I was convinced that going forward, we would design projects, activities, a season that could not be taken away from us. So I have, in essence, 4 plans on how to do that. Plan A will be to produce a season that is entirely of a virtual nature. And we will explore what that can look like so that if, heaven forbid, we can't come back together, at least we can still create art and theater in a brand new way. The other thing is I want to, so that's plan A. Plan B is the hope that we could actually be in the same room together, working with green screen or different kinds of technology to create our theater pieces. And we hope that can happen come January, that we can actually come on campus with our cast and tape and record and put theater together. Plan C is that we actually get to have a small partial audience, kind of like an invited dress rehearsal, where we can present things on stage using social distancing within cast and crew situations and design situations, but also within audience situations. And lastly, plan D would be we sort of get back to the new normal of what that's going to look like, where we can have audiences. So going through next year, I said to the faculty in a meeting last week or so that it's kind of like going through the Suez Canal next year. You know, it'll be sort of like, well, everything seems okay. We'll let you into lock 1. So we'll float into lock 1. And if all that looks good, then we'll open up lock 2 and we can float into lock 2. But maybe if something goes awry or there's a big spike or there's problems, then we have to go back to lock 1. So we have to be extraordinarily flexible in doing this dance. And each of our projects that we're going to be working on are going to be designed to quickly pivot back between plan A to plan D or back to plan B within the same project so that we are able to keep going forward and provide opportunities for all our amazing students. So to explain a little bit about some of the technologies that are possible, I'd like to bring to the stage the amazing Mike Hooker, who has an incredible background in his experience working in Disney, Tokyo, and other places, theme park, about how you can work and create in different virtual realities. So Mike, please come on down.
Hey everyone, my name's Mike Hooker and I teach sound design and composition here for the drama department. I'm also the head of design. So I just had a bunch of, it's hard to structure these kind of talks, but a bunch of bullet points that I sort of want to get across as we venture into this. And the first thing, I want everyone to realize that I know you're going to be looking to your faculty for answers, and I want to assure you that we might not have the answers and that you're going to be an active part of finding those answers and those discoveries. I think all of us are way out of our comfort zone, and when we're talking about things like putting together a season that it's a huge undertaking that we don't know how it's going to end up or be, but I think we're all equally excited about what it could be. The other thing I want to get across before I get into the rest of this is that I want everyone to look at this next year as a 3-lane highway, that there are 3 lanes that you should be in the drama department at the same time, or not the same time, but pick one at each given time. And the first is at your classes, that's a given, that you have to take classes and those will be going on. The second are going to be the season productions that Dawn and our directors are going to talk about. But the third is also equally important, and that's the ability to make your own art and not have it tied to curricular things that you're doing. I hope that no one will lose that spirit, because we have a department that has had that lifeline always, and I don't want to see that go away. Some of the other things too is that we're going to be using a lot of technology that is going to be borrowed from the film and TV industry. I just want to make it clear that our goal is not to make film and television. We are just using their tools. And one of those tools that they're not using that we're going to be using a little bit is Zoom. I just want to assure everyone that Zoom is just a tool. It is just one of many hammers that we might have at our use, but there's a lot of other tools out there other than Zoom that we can use. And a lot of those are going to be video based. And when it comes to video, there's three things that I think are going to be important as you explore, hopefully explore this during the summer before you hit school. And the first thing is that camera quality is everything on video. And I want to assure you that this is not a good camera. The web camera on your laptop is terrible. One thing that is a good camera is everyone's mobile phones, but it's not the selfie phone on the front. It's the phone, the camera that's on the back that's going to be super important, because the resolution of this thing on everyone's phone is pretty incredible. The next thing is that lighting is also super important, that you need to be seen on any of these, and we're not going to have crews necessarily to help set this up. And just an example, I'm lit right now by two cheap $20 IKEA desk lamps, but just by positioning them in the right place that someone can be decently lit without a lot of money. And then the third thing is that, and this is my area of expertise, is that you need to learn how to work a microphone and understand that for good audio quality, you want to get as close to the mic as possible. So if your phone is your microphone, by having that distance, the background noise goes down twice. Have that again, and it gets better and better. So I know that leads to some challenges if you're going to be filming yourself, your whole body from a distance, but there's things like the ear pods and things that have decent microphones in them. And the other terms that are going to be batted around a lot are asynchronous and synchronous. The university's been talking a lot about that in terms of classes. Asynchronous meaning that things happen not in real time, but you can watch them or assemble them and put them together on your own. And synchronous means a live event like what we're doing now, a telepresence event on Zoom. But a lot of things that again, when it comes to using these tools, we don't know how we're going to make these work. And again, there may be tools that you know of as students that we don't, and we hope that you'll have that dialogue with all of us in terms of making those discoveries. Some of the other things that I think will be neat for us to pursue, on top, the first thing is the whole green screen idea. I think is going to play a big part in what we do. And just to show everyone right now, I'm sitting in front of a green sheet, and I'm using Zoom to use my chroma key and to do the removal of the background, which works a little bit better than the virtual background. And it's not cheap. I'm lit by 2 desk lamps, and this is working pretty well. But other things like immersive experiences, that theater doesn't have to be a bunch of people in a room seated next to one another. That it could be that we set up an experience that unfolds in a non-linear way. And those are very exciting, especially to a lot of us in the design program. Things like video games and branching entertainment, where we don't know the outcome, that those are also really exciting. Things like augmented and virtual reality, where we may be embodying actors and people in a digital way, but the genesis of that and the movement comes from real people. So that's super exciting to us, along with telepresence and all that. And then the last thing is that a lot of, especially actors, are going to be having to put together your own audition tapes and demo reels on your own. And these are all techniques and things that we'll be learning that will not only go into productions, but can help you out on your own. And the last thing I want to say is that everyone needs to understand that school and universities are a safe place to fail. That I can guarantee you that our faculty have all made incredible failures throughout our design career, acting and performance and directing careers. And we need to, I don't want you to fail classes, but when it comes to making art, it's okay to scrap it and start over again. And the whole idea of an opening night is a difficult thing. And, if everyone needs space or time, hopefully your teams will be able to talk about that, and, we'll be able to regroup and rethink how that happens. But again, don't be afraid to fail at what you do, all right? You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. So that's all I have to say, and I look forward to meeting everyone who's new and everyone who's returning, next year. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Mike, for those words of wisdom. I greatly appreciate it. At this time, I would like to introduce our show directors. And our first director is Marana Delaney, and she's going to talk about the Fall Musical, which is going to be an original world premiere musical that's being created specifically for our drama department by two amazing collaborators. So let's bring Marana Delaney to the stage, and she's going to talk about what this is going to look like.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you again virtually as we are. I want to talk to you about this amazing project that we've put together and hope to have an amazing team build. We are creating a new musical that will be written by UCI alum Kate Chadwick, who has written for the New York Satellite program over the years, and her specially abled collaborator, Josh Freelick. They both attended NYU, went through the writing program there. Past couple of years, they have projects that went up at Barrington Stage, and I've contacted them, and they are right now putting together treatments for us to consider for our fall musical. This musical will not be like any I've done before or any that the team we put together has done. It will be digital theater, digital musical theater. We will be exploring all different kinds of ways of putting it together, and without a planned opening date, and be having early auditions in order to accommodate this unique process. I'm looking forward to working with many of you, both in front of the camera, as Mike said, and behind the camera, and excited to see what this writing team can come up with for us to produce. I also wanted to put a shout out to those of you interested in the New York Satellite program. We will continue. I hope to do 2 programs next year, since 2020 has not had the opportunity to go yet. We'll do a 2020 and a 2021 class. So if you're hoping to do that project, I hope you come out to the auditions in the fall. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marana. And I think what's exciting about creating a new musical is that we can tailor make it to the ages of our students, so it's age appropriate in how things are done. And we can also look at gender balancing in terms of the number of male actors versus female actors and so forth. What I'd like to do right now is to bring in our next show director, who is Beth Lopes, who I am thrilled to have Beth come back and join us. And she's going to be directing the virtually created piece, She Kills Monsters. So Beth, if you can come on down and join us, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much for letting me come and pop on and say hi to everybody. I'm just absolutely thrilled to be back working with UCI and directing this play that I love, She Kills Monsters. I think it's such a wonderful piece that I knew of before I spoke with Dawn about it. And I actually had just read about how Qui Gwen adapted it to have it be all digital, which I think is just fabulous, to reinvent these works for the times that we're living in. I so appreciate what Mike was saying about experimentation, and I think that we're all experimenting with these new forms. And I think that's part of what's so exciting about it. Specifically with this play that I'm really, really excited about is I've been spending a lot of time thinking about what kind of work we collectively are going to want to see and work on when we come back to the theater, or, most of us, I think, have probably never left in our minds. But I think that this play, for me, is exactly the kind of thing I want to be working on, because it's a play that deals with something incredibly dark, and doesn't pretend that loss and grief, don't exist in the world. And I think especially for everyone right now, loss and grief are just a part of our daily existence. But the way that Qui deals with it is in this adventurous and whimsical and, dare I say, fun way. And I think, to me, that's exactly the kind of work that I want to be working on right now and putting out into the universe. So I feel so lucky to be thinking about this world and this play. And I'm so excited to dive into the virtual realms. So very, very grateful.
Thank you so much, Beth. Appreciate it very, very much. And Beth has recently become a new mom. Yay, again. So
very recently.
Very recently. Appreciate you stepping aside to join us. This is
Thank
wonderful.
you for having me.
Thank you, Beth. Moving on into the winter term of the shows that we're going to be doing. The first one is Eurydice by Sarah Rule, and that will be directed by Annie Louie. So Annie, if you'll come on board and talk to us a little bit about this show, that will be terrific. Thank you.
Oh, it worked.
It did.
Hi, Beth. First of all, good to see you. And thank you, Dawn. I'm actually thrilled to be thinking again about Eurydice. I've directed other of Sarah Rule's work. I think she's got a very direct way of speaking to the audience that's also extremely lyrical. So there's a lot of potential magic, there's a lot of mystery, and there's a lot of sense of some kind of deep sympathy within all of the work that she does. I'm actually also really interested in doing that particular play now in this COVID time, because it talks about questions about distance, and it's a distance between people and the presence of people who aren't really there. I think it's an appropriate topic for us to be exploring in a creative and artistic way. So one of the other aspects of this that I'm actually also very excited about is that we're going to be doing this in the XMPL. And I know that the XMPL is directly connected to the Myers Sound Studio, and it gives us opportunity for green screen potential within the space, and also incredible sound potential and a lot of experimentation that I feel we're going to be able to do no matter what platform we're going to be able to work in. So that kind of potential for experimentation within virtual and real realms strikes me as completely applicable for this particular piece and also in this particular time. So I'm seeing lots of potential for sound, for music, for projection, and for light. How exactly we pull it all off, I have no idea, but I'm very excited to look for how to collaborate with my collaborators and make that happen. That's probably what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Annie. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Also in our winter season, our next production is a new play. It's a comedy entitled Human Error. And to discuss this is Jane Page, who will be directing it. So Jane, come join us.
Hello, I'm just really, really tickled that we're doing this. And thank you, Dawn and Joel, for making all of this happen. When we were looking at sort of what our season originally was, it was like, I kept saying, we need a real comedy, a really funny comedy. And also a comedy that's about something important. And Human Error is that play, I think. It's smart, it's funny, it's about real issues in today's world, and it addresses things in a way that everyone has a place at the table. And the question of how do we find understanding in our deeply divided culture because of values and beliefs and politics and race and gender and faith, and all of those things are in this play. The situation in the play, because I know most people won't know this play, it brings together two couples. One is liberal and one is very conservative. And they're brought together because of a blundering mix-up at a fertility clinic by a doctor. Well, miraculously, the results from these two couples' 9-month adventure is both funny and thoughtful. And it's not what you expect from an art form that generally, let's be honest, leans left. The play does not tell you who's right or who's wrong, or it really asks the question of what do we have in common? And when and under what circumstances do we recognize that we do have things in common? And how do we move out of our own comfort zone to reach across the chasm that separates so many of us today? One of the great gifts of the play, besides being funny and smart, is that it gives us hope. And I think in the time that we are dealing with, hope is one of those lifelines that we all need to remember and practice. If we don't know exactly if it's going to be a digital production of the play, because we're also looking at if we're able to doing this in the little theater, because I think the play would work well in there. And also the notion of social distancing will be easier to manage in that space if we are lucky enough to have audience and actors together. I am so excited to work with designers and actors and stage managers who are ready to take on this challenge and also have a really great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. Thank you. So going on to our spring term, we have a really exciting devised piece of theater that Juliet Carrillo is working with as we speak with students. So Juliet, come on, join us.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be speaking with you today, having an opportunity to talk about this project. So this is a project that's co-produced with the Brick Theater Company, the Brown Bag Theater Company, Black Door, and Theater Walks. So we are all working together to devise this piece. And what devise means is that we are inventing it. And there's no script. We're starting from a blank slate and we're creating it as we go. So I wanted to read the, first of all, this is the title that we've come up with all together so far. It's a working title: Resilience, Resistance, and Radiance. These are 3 themes that we're all very excited about exploring. Again, the title may change, but this is what we're starting with. And we've also wordsmithed a kind of a synopsis, so I'd like to read that to you. This is a devised narrative exploring intersectionality. Created through improvisation, research, and invention over a period of several months, our story will embody perseverance in the face of adversity and will celebrate how together we thrive. So also a very positive theme. Obviously, we really are looking to, we're looking also at hope in a different way, a different lens. So we are meeting presently we're meeting on Fridays at 12:45, and we're going to continue to meet throughout the summer. When we meet in the summer, we'll be meeting bi-monthly. And we want to open up our meetings to anybody who's involved in one of those 4 clubs. You are absolutely welcome to join us. If you're not involved in one of those 4 clubs, but you're really interested in devised work, we're open to the conversation. So I'm going to give you our stage manager's email. So if you have a moment to take to write this down. So Tyler Hahn's email is thaun, THAUN1 @uci.edu. THAUN1 @uci.edu. If you do want to join us at this point, we just ask that we ask commitment, because it does take consistency and devotion to really bring about a story from, really build it from the bottom up. It takes yes, commitment. So I also need to say that not everyone who's involved in the development process will be cast in the show. Right now, we're talking about only 10 people being in the show. Now, so many things are changing. We don't know if there may be some flexibility with that when we get to that point in the spring. But but we still invite people to be involved in the development process regardless. And the development process may include a lot more people than the actual cast. And I think that's all I need to say, other than, you know, we're really excited about this project, and we're also excited about the many different possibilities in terms of form. In some ways, limitations can be very provocative for a group that's creating something from the ground up. So, you know, we talked about maybe even using the Mesa parking lot at some point for a drive-through theater experience. So there's a lot of different possibilities, and hopefully it won't be as shut down as it is now. So we're hoping for the best. But yeah, this is we're excited, and yeah, I'm glad that you all know about it now.
Thank you so much, Juliet. Could you share a few words about the class that you're going to be teaching in conjunction to this project? This project?
Yeah, so that's a spring class, devised theater class, and that will be limited to the people that are in the cast, and the designers and dramaturgical team.
Excellent, thank you. So that's kind of a special thing that goes along with being part of this process, is that you get to have a class with Juliet in devised theater. How exciting!
Yeah, so it'll start in the spring, it'll start in the winter, and then it'll just roll right into rehearsal in the spring.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, it's my great pleasure to introduce Herbert Seguenza, someone who is such an amazing theater artist who's worked with us before, and we are so excited to have him come back. And so Herbert, if you can come and talk to us about the L. Henry Project.
Hello. Hello. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Oh, hi. How's everybody? Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be back at UC Irvine. Joel, I want to thank you so much for putting on the Jubilee video. I'm a big, big believer in the Jubilee concept of decolonizing the theater, right? And theater education. And I'm back at UC Irvine because I think you guys get it. I think you guys definitely get it. Imagine the American theater not doing Shakespeare for 1 year, just 1 year. That's tens of thousands of productions, right? Imagine what they would do if they didn't have Shakespeare to depend on. We would do other types of plays. We would do plays by women, by people of color. We would do LGBTQ plays. We would do, you know, so many different kinds of plays. And so I really believe in the decolonization of American theater and the education system. However, I did adapt Shakespeare because I believe Shakespeare is a great playwright with great plots and great storylines. But I really believe Shakespeare in its essence now should be adapted and changed for modern times. I think there's a educational aspect of reading the old text, sure, that's great. But I personally have no interest in mounting a Shakespeare play with all the old, with the old language. I wanted to adapt Shakespeare for a new audience. And so I rewrote El Henry, which is one of his history plays, but I set it in the barrio, in a post-apocalyptic society. Now, again, I think it's the perfect post-pandemic play. if you, quite frankly, I wish it was on right now because I think it would have a lot of relevance, because I think this pandemic has exposed America's failings. When you think about the economic system, the banking system, everything. I mean, it's so obvious what our failings are because of this pandemic. And I think El Henry talks about that. It's a post-apocalyptic America. And what does that mean? Well, that means basically the end of a capitalist, Anglo-centric society. Well, is that the end of the world? Probably not. Another society would emerge from that. And in this case, it's a violent Chicano, Mexicano society. And I think that's what makes the play so science realistic in a sense, and also sci-fi. And I'm so excited about it. The students are doing great designs. They've really got the concept of El Henry, and I'm just so excited to be back. And you know, whether we do it virtually or live, I would prefer live because I think it's a play that has a real tactical audio feeling about it. And I just hope we can do it live on outside where we're thinking of mounting it. Otherwise, no matter what, we're going to do it. But I'm really happy to be back. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Herbert. And we're very excited to have you back. So this is wonderful. Our last show of the year will be the undergraduate musical Junk, and I'm thrilled to introduce Shakina and Andrew Palermo for them to discuss this amazing production that we're going to be working on.
Hey everybody, I'll go first. I'm Andrew, as you might know, and Shakina's gonna come on in a second. So Shakina and I have known each other for a bunch of years, and she originally asked me to choreograph Junk in New York. She lives in the city, and for one reason or another, our ducks couldn't get in a row, as that happens out in the world sometimes. So we just kept missing opportunities to work on this piece together. In the interim, Shakina and the band Brainpool, who the music is from and who the original concept album is by, they were working on workshop versions and readings and concerts and continuing to tool the show, as is the case with most new plays and definitely musicals. They take a long time to get to their semi-finished state. So a couple of years ago, I started thinking about trying to bring Junk to UCI, and you know, we have season themes, and so sometimes it felt like maybe it fit better than others, but this year it felt really perfectly suited for the Jubilee theme, and it ends up being more timely and more prescient than ever, based on what's going on in the world and the current administration, and a lot of things that we see every day on CNN are reflected in this piece, which is, to me, thrilling and groundbreaking and exciting. And so Shakina and the band, this piece is their baby. I'm here to serve the piece. I'm co-directing with Shakina as a sort of boots on the ground person here at UCI, and I sort of know how it works here and choreographing as well. But Shakina can tell you all about the show, the genesis of it, the evolution of it, and where we are with it now.
Cool. I'm here. I don't know if y'all can see me yet, but
got you.
Hi. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be coming to UCI to work on Junk, however we end up doing it, whether I spend most of my time working on it with you here in New York or if I get to be there with you. I'm from Orange County. I used to work at UCI like a million years ago. It feels like a little prodigal daughter return moment. So I'm excited. So like Andrew was saying, Junk is the brainchild of the band Brainpool. They were a Swedish pop band that were like mega stars in the 90s and then retreated into relative obscurity to write a rock opera about the failures of commercialism, especially in regards to the music industry. When I got in touch with them and started working with them on the theatrical adaptation of the piece, I was really interested in unpacking it and to try and find a few more sort of like socio-political narratives that I felt were already embedded in the music and extrapolate that to talk about something bigger than just the music industry. And so what the show has become is a story of a young woman who wants to change the world through rock and revolution and her all-girl rock band. But it takes place in a world, a near future and possibly present world. And I kid you not, this was all written years ago as we've developed it, but in a city, a mythical city that is isolated from the rest of the world, that is run by an egomaniac who inherited all of his money and who has decided to build a wall out of consumer waste to keep out anyone else from the city. So this young woman, Anna, decides that she's going to use the power of her rock music to tear down the wall. And that's in a nutshell what the show's about. The part of the process that I'm the most excited for is that like any new musical, this show has had, new musical, we say being written for like 20 years. This show has had so many different iterations, and there's such an incredible catalog of music by Brainpool and some of it that I've written with them. And we're really going to unpack everything and kind of figure out what the Junk for 2021 is. And so the students that we get to work with on the show are going to be a part of revising the show for today's moment. And I think it'll be really fun. We'll be working with the band in Sweden over Skype or Zoom, and we'll be connecting throughout the year as new material gets written and we go back to songs that we've cut before and bring them back. And it should be a great time. And it definitely takes place in a world in which broadcasting from quarantine is like part of the zeitgeist. So whatever happens, we'll be ready for it.
Thanks, Shakina.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Shakina. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what looks like to be what we would call traditionally our main stage season, which is, I think, amazingly awesome. The amount of original new work that we're creating is incredible. So I'm really excited. But wait, there's more. In addition to what we're doing on what we traditionally call our main stage season, we also have what we're calling a discovery series, which are actually things that we've already been doing for quite a while, but I want to put them in this category because I want to be able to give these projects more support than they've gotten in the past in terms of some funding to pay for rights or some funding to have more publicity provided for them, as well as certain crew and potentially design possibilities. So in the fall, we're going to do 12th Night in a very different way. And if Phil Thompson and Andrew Borba could come join us to talk about what it is that they plan to do with that production of 12th Night.
Andrew, I'll take the lead and hand off to you, which will prefigure the show itself. For some years, we've done projects with the graduate actors and undergrads as laboratories for going more deeply into Shakespeare text analysis, which we do in our classes, but it gets cooked when you take it on stage in front of an audience. And so it serves that purpose, has served that purpose. And in the past, I've done King Lear, we've done Love's Labour's Lost and Macbeth most recently. And so our plan was already to create some new piece. This is always in response to who's available, whose needs are going to be served. And so we end up backing our way into the play selection. Always, though, because Shakespeare is so richly complex and variable, the conceptual moment grows out of the play in process. And I'm looking forward to that as well. The start of this process will essentially be as soon as we've cast it, I'll begin some virtual text work with actors, and we'll be working our way towards an online presentation of the play in the fall. And then we're going to rely on that preparation and look for a spot later in the year when we can be in rooms together potentially and do a pop-up production, which will match in many ways the original practices of these plays. Actors learned their parts independently and had their scripts with only their cue lines, and they entered into the space and often would rehearse in front of an audience. And that's part of the process that we're hoping to explore. Andrew?
And then exactly that. Phil hands it off to me. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about is process. And as Phil suggested, the work that happens pre-production is incredibly useful. And so I think a lot of this handoff, I'll be working a little bit with everybody in the early stages of it, but for the most part, we'll be directing it. And I think, obviously, Phil and I will be working together, but the idea is that the actors will be prepping it and taking a deep, deep dive and in many ways, ready to do the work and show up for the work in that, what we will call in mid-rehearsal, our first rehearsal. And that's when we'll start to do things like put it on its feet, investigate what's happening within the scenes when people start to interact together and that sort of thing. So the whole idea is that with the two of us, we can actually build it brick by brick by brick and hopefully have an incredibly large and complex house at the end of it. I will say this though too, and I know there's so much of our world is being sort of dictated by particular things, but I wanted to say comment on 12th Night specifically, that I think this may be Shakespeare's perfect play. And it also incredibly beautifully is only funny because it comes from such a place of deep loss at the beginning of it. And there's something about that I am very interested in investigating, exploring, and sharing with us as we do it, and then the audience as we get into it.
It was written in a gap between two major plague outbreaks. And so Shakespeare and other great thinkers of the time were locked up in their houses. And this lands right in between two major breaks. So there was loss in everyone's life and striving to find connection that's really evident in this play in particular.
Thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts with The Twelfth Night. In winter term, Eli Simon will be working with first-year grad actors to create the acting project. So Eli, you want to join us and share a little bit about that process and who's writing that?
Sure, thanks, Don, and hello, everyone, although I can't see you. Delightful to be here, and so just a great meeting so far, so thanks for that, Don and Joel. I do direct the first-year acting project. Generally speaking, this will be the 4th year that we've done this, and these plays are written by who I consider to be a resident playwright now, Tira Palmquist, who's has a national reputation as a playwright and won many awards. She does a kind of amazing thing, which is to take the incoming class and get to know them and write a play for them. The idea being that there are equal sized roles for everyone in the cast, so there's no leads. It's kind of an astonishing feat that she can pull this off. And these plays are really about something too. So they're not just entertainment with equal roles. She's writing a play called The Bleeding Edge. And this is a play that turns to the world of tech, where the leading edge can become a double-edged sword. So the most advanced tech and software is not always the most progressive, and even the most adventurous, the coolest, the most cutting-edge workplace can also be a toxic workplace, especially for young women. And I think now, especially, hopefully, post-pandemic. This is happening in late winter. So again, we don't know what's going to be happening then, but we're hoping, as everyone is, that we'll be performing this live, but we will Zoom it or record it if need be. We're really excited about it. Thanks so much for the time. And I guess that's about it for me.
Thank you so much, Eli. I appreciate it. In our spring term, there'll be many things going on, as there often are in spring term, but in the Discovery series particularly, we'll be having the Shakespeare Shorts. So I'm asking Jane Page to come back and chat a little bit about what is the Shakespeare Shorts, its history and background, and what you hope to achieve.
Great. Thanks again for having me talk about this exciting project that happens every other year, because it's part of the curriculum for the graduate directors in their second year. One of the things we accomplish in this project, we do 2 1-hour, 8-actor with at least equity in terms of gender, enrolling rep at a site that's generally right across the street from the School of the Arts. It's quite an adventure. It's taking the directors, and the 2 directors are Chloe King and Summer Session, through a process of really studying Shakespeare and lots of different strategies for directing Shakespeare, and also how to cut Shakespeare and condense Shakespeare. So it's great fun. It's a festival because it's done together, enrolling rep, outside generally. And at this point, by spring, week 5, we're not sure what or how that might look. We're hoping that we're going to be able to perform it where we have performed it in the past, with or without an audience. So it's going to be a work in progress. And I think designers and stage managers and actors that are interested, we are totally open to anyone being involved and auditioning. So that'll be Shakespeare Shorts. We're not sure of the titles yet, but it's always a great time for a spring activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. So a little information now on early casting and how that will work. So there will be a casting notice that will be posted for the fall musical and She Kills Monsters and Twelfth Night that will go up on June 15th. So we like graduate on the 13th, and in drama, we just keep going. So June 15th, we're moving forward with our casting notice. And that will have information about self-taping auditions. We will have a series of online workshops that will be interactive. So students who've never had the experience of creating an audition tape will get to have that experience, to have what that is all about. And then the actual submission of those taped audition pieces will be starting Monday, July 13th to Saturday, July 25th. So it's like a 2-week window that people will have an opportunity to submit their online audition. Then we'll have potential callbacks around July 25th. And more or less by the time we get to Monday, August 3rd or Tuesday, August 4th, that will be when we will have cast list posted. So one of the exciting things about being in this virtual world is that we now know pretty much 95% who our incoming first years will be, as well as junior transfers. So they will be invited to also audition at this time. I know in the past when we've had like the physical auditions of early casting, there's always a concern that people get left out, the first years coming in or junior transfers. But this year, they will not be left out. They will also be able to be part of this early casting process. We will post information later about the rest of the season casting in terms of how that will work in the what we call the mega audition process. It will probably be earlier than Welcome Week. I'm working very hard for all our sakes to pull as many activities out of Welcome Week, because the idea of being on Zoom for 11 hours, I think is scary to anybody. So things like intimacy training, coaching workshops, things like diversity sensitivity training, those things will be working early on the week before the official Welcome Week in terms of trying to provide appropriate space and time for people to comprehend and not to be so completely zoomed out. As I said at the beginning of this town hall meeting, we have 3 very special guests who are our 3 new faculty members. And it's great thrill and joy to announce each of these 3 amazing persons. And I'm going to ask them one at a time to kind of join the meeting so we can see your face, and if you feel free to say a few words. First, let me welcome to the stage Professor Zachary Price. Professor Price received his PhD in theater and dance from UC Santa Barbara in 2003 and was awarded the Chancellor's Postdoc Fellowship from UCLA 2015 to 2017. Price is a versatile scholar with his research field ranging from theater and performing studies, Black studies, film, media, and cultural studies to digital humanities. His unique scholarship centers on the political efficacy of martial arts, breaking the boundaries between various racial minorities, such as African American and Asian American communities. Please welcome Zachary Price.
Wow.
I don't know if he's, yes.
Thank you, Don, for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yay.
Introduction, and thank you, Joel, for inviting me to this town hall. I'm truly excited to join you all. Hopefully in the fall. I'm still in Texas right now, but I'm planning on relocating and joining you all down in Southern California very soon. As Professor Hill just suggested, my work looks at issues of power, race, gender, class, and of course, performance. And I consider performance broadly construed to happen in various spaces and sites. That can be the theater, the proscenium stage, the black box, the street, carnival. It can be prisons, and of course the classroom. It can be virtual and digital domains. And of course, with my current research project, it happens to fall and center around the issue of martial arts. So martial arts and cinema, martial arts as everyday practice, martial arts in theater, and martial arts as healing and restoration and repair. So I look forward to meeting all of the students, faculty, and staff, and I'm truly excited to be coming back to the University of California. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We so are thrilled to have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
The next new hire that we have, that is so exciting will be the new head of our scenic design program. And let me introduce to you Professor Efren Delgalio Jr., who will be the new head of scene design. Ephraim received his BFA from UC Irvine. How about that? In 2000, under the tutelage of Cliff Faulkner and Keith Bangs. He received his MFA from Cal Arts in 2003. Prior to his appointment at UCI, he was an assistant professor at Cal State Northridge in scenic design. Ephraim has an extensive background in digital and projection design and has received numerous awards and nominations from theaters such as Oregon Shakespeare Festival, the Pasadena Playhouse, the Denver Center, the Getty Villa, and the Boston Court Theater. Please welcome Ephraim.
Hi, everyone. Extremely honored to join the faculty. Very exciting. Last month it felt like a very scary moment, but now I realize we're all at the dawn of this amazing renaissance, theater renaissance. So I'm excited to be part of it with the students. I want to echo Mike Hooker's words of wisdom about exploring. Exploring with the phones. I think to all my future scenic design students or design students in general, hopefully this doesn't come across as homework, but I want to encourage you to draw. Take these times where it's nice and calm or hectic to draw, and also to take pictures using that incredible camera to master the frame. I think theater designers are masters of the crop, so I encourage the students to do that, and also take advantage of your loved ones, and take advantage of all the online resources available. And I'm looking forward to being there in the fall, and whether it be digital or in person. I'm upgrading my camera so it feels like I'm in office hours with you if it's digital. And thank you, Dawn, and everyone at the faculty. Extremely excited. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And again, welcome. We look forward to seeing you on campus. And finally, our third faculty hire. Isn't this amazing? Like, so many people are laying off people or furloughing people, but here in the drama department, we're actually hiring people. How exciting is that? So last but not least, I would like to introduce to you Professor Zachary Dietz as music theater MFA faculty. So Zachary, feel free to come on down. Zachary received his Bachelor of Music from the University of Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. He received his MS Arts Administration from the University of Oregon. On Broadway, he has worked on Mrs. Doubtfire, which he was in previews and production before COVID hit everything. And prior to that, he worked on such Broadway shows as Moulin Rouge, The School of Rock, In the Heights, and Wicked. Before his appointment, he taught at Troy University, New York University, Yale Institute for Music Theater. Please welcome Zachary Dietz.
Hi, everyone. Good evening from New York. I'll echo again my fellow new faculty hires. It's a thrill to be coming out to Irvine this fall. I'll just simply say that I look forward to meeting all of you in person in the coming months as we make the trek out from the East Coast, and look forward to diving in.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And again, welcome. We're so glad to have you be part of this. So let's just take a moment, a huge round of applause with your reaction buttons or whatever you want to use to welcome our amazing first year new faculty members. It's just terrific. We are so thrilled to have you with us. It's really, really exciting. I wanted to leave some time at the end of the town hall for any questions that people might have. I think one of the big questions coming in right now is, what do classes look like for the immediate fall? And what I can tell you is that all undergraduate classes at this time are set to be online, and graduate classes are pretty much set to be online with some exceptions. We're still kind of sorting that all out. And as we get more information, we will be passing that along to you. But I also wanted to let you know that when the faculty had to shift onto online teaching last over spring break, which was really crazy for them and real crazy for you and for the rest of us. The faculty are in the process of taking lots of classes and workshops and developing classes that initially were never designed to be online to become online, and classes that are not necessarily suited for online teaching are being rearranged in the schedule for the classes that we offer for the school year. So we're trying to be really sensitive and in touch with what makes sense to make this an online course and what needs to be delayed somewhat in terms of that. Because before COVID-19 happened, clearly, there were many exciting online classes, and there's a skill set to designing an online class, and our faculty is getting a lot more educated about how to do that. And our goal is to create the best learning environment possible and to create the best student experience possible. So at this time, I would be happy to entertain, if there are any questions, I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And Joel, if you want to let me know what those are, I know you're monitoring that with some of the stage managers. Feel free. If there are no questions, then thank you all for attending, and we look forward to providing you more information as it comes forward.
All right. Hey, we have a few questions here in the Q&A box, which if you have questions, that's a great place to put them so that we can make sure that we don't miss any of the questions that you might have. So the first question that we have is, when will auditions for the MT courses be happening?
Okay, I'm going to, if Marana, if you're still online for that, I'd like you to answer that question since that's your department, your area.
Could you ask me the question again, Don?
Sure. When are the auditions for the MT classes?
The auditions will be held in September online for BFA, all the levels of MT, as well as the New York Satellite Program. And we will probably do a mailing similar, an email out to everyone, similar to what we're doing for the new musical auditions, where we will give a specific set of parameters for everyone to follow. And if we need additional information about your audition, we can always reach out to you and request a different video or sing a different song before we make any final decisions. Does that sound good?
Thank you so much.
Huh.
Marana, you might want to say just for another moment, we got another question.
Sure.
Two parts to this question. One is, will dance classes be online or will they not be offered to drama students again? And that's a dance department question, but I think within the drama department, we might address that in a slightly different way.
We have moved Andrew Palermo's drama dance classes to winter and spring at this point, so that hopefully if we're back in person and we can do distancing, we'll be able to have those classes. I think the dance department is planning online. And from my experience, I think the online dancing, if you can find space in your house, is working out pretty well. So hopefully you'll be able to keep your craft up in this time of COVID.
Wonderful. And then the follow-up question for that is, they need to take a tap class in order to audition for a New York Satellite Program. Is there flexibility?
I think we'll forego the tap audition this year. You can show me your tap shoes, and if you own them, that'll be a point in your direction. So go ahead and buy tap shoes, because we'll all be learning a lot winter quarter.
Wonderful. Here's another question that not necessarily from Marana, that I'm aware of now. We're just going to go through it in the order that I'm seeing these. But how are designers in all areas going to be designing digital theater in terms of this process?
That's a great question. And I think that's something for each student to talk to their own individual mentor to find out what the parameters are going to be for that particular project, what technology is going to be explored, and what's going on with that. We are this summer engaging specialists who deal in this area to help educate all of us, including our faculty, about how to go about that, and looking at to employ them throughout the whole year to help us as we explore this new world together.
Great, thank you. Can you speak about the undergraduate DCPs and independent projects and extracurricular clubs, etc.?
Sure. I mean, Jane can talk about the DCPs if you want to start there. And if anyone is interested in doing an independent project, I highly encourage that. I want to reiterate what Mike Hooker said about 3 lanes of the shows, the classes, and then whatever is attracting to you. And we're really looking at some amazing new technology, like virtual reality, like an installation that you walk through one at a time. There's all kinds of things. And I'm hoping as we get exposed to different kinds of technology that this may awaken in students the idea of doing things. Europe grants are full and plentiful for this year to help fund and support those kinds of independent projects. So we will embrace that strongly. It's just a matter of notifying me as chair that this is what you want to do, and this is your faculty supervisor to sponsor you, your faculty mentor. Jane, do you want to say anything about the DCPs?
Good question. We're in the midst of looking at the people who lost shows this quarter and anyone who's already on the honors and directing track, how we're going to help benchmark those pieces. And I think until we're into the summer, we'll have to sort of put all of our heads together. And if you're in that group of cohorts, if you have an idea of something you're excited about that you'd like to be in that mix, please shoot me an email with some of that information. But we don't, in fall, it's going to probably all be digital or Zoomed or however these pieces sort of emerge. And as we work through the year, we will adapt to the circumstances that we're given. But if you have a keen idea or a text that you're excited about or material, maybe it's stories, maybe it's poetry, maybe it's a news event. Think outside the box, but we're more than welcome to help you navigate what that might be able to look like. We're all going to be learning together, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much. Other questions, Joel?
Yeah, so there's some folks that have the impression that some of the grad classes would be in person in the fall, and there's concern about that being online. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of where we're at in the process or what we know?
Sure. What we know right now is not a lot, and I wish we did know more. Grad Division is looking every day for guidance from the health officials of Orange County, from the UC Medical Center, as well as from the governor's office. In terms of grad classes, what we've been told so far is that they would prefer that they not be in person, but that we make a case for those specific and special grad classes that absolutely can't happen unless they are in person. So they're wanting us to like look at, say, 10 grad classes, like out of the 10, which 2 are essential from your perspective and from, more importantly, the perspective of the faculty mentor and the faculty teacher that need to be in person, what those look like, and then providing parameters for what social distancing would look like and all the rest of it. Now, this could all change in a month or 6 weeks. We don't know, but in terms of today's truth, that's what I've been told.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to know for folks that are putting questions in the chat, it's hard for me to go back and forth from chat to the Q&A. The Q&A is a stronger choice of where to put your questions, and then we'll follow up with the chat if we have time. Somebody denoted in this question, thank you for creating this thing in such little time and all this, and they're amazed and thankful for the leadership and initiative that we're all demonstrating. It's inspiring. The question is, what initiatives, if any, is the department exploring to support the graduating class of 2020 that's graduating with specialized degrees in some things that don't exist in the moment? And what's your message to the graduating class of 2020?
I think my message is hang in there and don't give up. I know it's extraordinarily defeating and upsetting and disturbing to look at theater, to look at things that we all love carefully, and it doesn't seem to exist. We will get through this. It will come back. And I think this is an opportunity to seize those moments where you have never maybe played before. So maybe this is your time to create your one-person show and put it on Zoom video, whatever, and explore that. Maybe this is your time to find that story that you never got to even tell in grad school, that you always wanted to tell, and to work with other graduate students to come together to explore what that storytelling could look like. Because once we get through this, there's going to be such a such a need for new storytelling and new kinds of ways. And I think it's about being smart and being ahead of the curve and being true to your own voice and telling the stories that you want to tell. So it's interesting how some people are reading scripts and looking at audio audition material that they would never have time to ever look at again. So also use this opportunity to knock on those doors for potential future employers, even though they say, well, we're not taking any new agents or new clients. That's true, they may not, but they will at some time, and why not have yourself in front of them to do that? So I would encourage you to be as excited about showing who you are, because no one's a better you than you. No one has your gift or your talent. It's also a great time to really work on your map of relationships, to really be connecting with the larger UCI network, both in New York and Los Angeles. You haven't had time, grad school is incredibly crazy in terms of just time to even process everything that you're going. So I would take a deep breath and congratulate that you've got through it, and look at the things that you can do and focus on what you can achieve, and focus on the networking that you can develop, and focus on the storytelling that is in yourself to give. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question that a lot of folks are interested in is, have we been in contact with the students, current students, graduates, and undergraduates about what they need and want in their new learning environment?
We're sending out a survey at the end of this year to kind of give us feedback once we've gotten through finals to understand what worked and what didn't. We'll be having all surveys for every class. We'll be going out digitally. In fact, those start on Monday to answer that question. But yes, we're interested in getting feedback on what has worked, what has not worked, and what can be new opportunities for you. And as we make our faculty stronger and better at doing online teaching for as long as we have to do it, those things are being looked at. But there will be a survey forthcoming.
Thank you. There's a number of folks asking questions about housing, specifically in terms of the high cost of housing that's in Irvine. Mm-hmm. And when will there be decisions made in terms of what classes are online versus not, for folks to determine if they are going to come back to Irvine or if they can save money by staying at another place in the area?
Thank you. So right now, as I understand it, all undergraduate courses will be online. So if you're an undergraduate student, know that they will be online. So if that gives you information to go, oh, it's going to be online for the fall, and you want to not be here because it's more economically better for you to not be here physically, but to still continue online with UCI, that's what the reality will be for the fall for sure. In terms of graduate classes, at this point, today's truth, I'm saying 80–85% of drama classes for grad students will be online at this point. It may change next week. We might get a call from the chancellor's office. And if we do, I will be sure to let all of you know ASAP. But if you have issues of financial need or concern or family issues, and it's not comfortable for you to be in Irvine right now, that is your individual decision to decide to step away. You will not be punished. You will not lose TA-ship or financial funding at all. We understand that. And I am certainly not going to compel any student or any faculty member to feel like they have to come to campus so that they can keep their financial status. The same applies to those first years dealing with issues of residency for first-year grad students. Please do not worry about that. If you need to leave and be gone this summer and that you think messes up your counting of the clock towards residency, that is not the case.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What steps is the department taking to address issues of equity when it applies to access such as tools like phones and computers that can support Zoom?
That's an excellent question. So we did a massive survey that I sent to Vinny, who was collecting all of this, and also to Alan Terciano. Alan Terciano is he's the graduate, he's the undergraduate advisor, and Vinny is the grad advisor. So what we're trying to learn from, and again, this will come in this survey that we'll be sending out in about a week and a half. Did you have difficulty getting on the internet? What kinds of things do you need? I know there were a number of computers that were loaned out to certain students who didn't have a computer, didn't have a way to get on the internet. What are the barriers that keep you from being able to focus? And so we're looking at what physical needs you are, because this is a real issue. And even for people who have a good internet connection, maybe being at home is really challenging because parents could be unemployed, or there's 5 of you at home in the same room, and that's really hard to like bang on a piano or practice an acting scene. So we're very sensitive and aware of the many challenges that students are facing. So in that survey, that's the place to say, I need better internet connection, I need certain kinds of technology, I need certain kinds of software in order for me to continue doing what I'm doing. And when we get that feedback, we'll be looking at what funding sources that we get from the university, from the federal government, from the COVID-19 fund to see what is possible and helping to mitigate that.
Great. The next question is, obviously none of us expected this year to look like this new coming year. And for incoming students, graduate or undergraduate, if they would like to take a year off and come back when things are back to normal, would any accommodations be made?
Students, graduate students, if they wish to take a year off, they're welcome to take a year off. Undergraduate students, I need to get the correct answer for that because it's a different, undergraduate students are funded in a different way from grad students. So I will put a pin in that to make sure that I get your answer for that. But for the graduate students to take a year off, you won't be punished. You would just be gone, and then you will come back and pick up right where you left with the same financial package that you have right now.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are students encouraged to go to Irvine even if classes are online, or is it acceptable for them to stay where they're at, their current location? I think they can stay wherever they would like, is that correct?
Yes, we want you safe. That's the most important thing. Your health is the most important thing.
Great.
So yes, wherever you are safe, emotionally safe, physically distanced safe, wherever you are safe, economically safe, that's clearly where you need to be.
Great. And then another question that we have is, what kind of work will we do, especially if folks aren't feeling comfortable being in person in class, in terms of their maybe high risk or whatnot? If a person is in a class, and would there be alternative options available to take it remotely if they didn't feel comfortable coming back to the space?
Yes, and that is probably a question that's more about when we all come back. You know, if we can come back in January, or maybe if in January all the grads get to come back and maybe some of the undergrads, or however that works. All classes will be recorded or need to be recorded with student permission so that we are able to then, for students who aren't able to physically be present, to also be able to experience the class. One of the issues that housing is facing is that the way, especially first-year freshman dorms are created, they're too close together. So there's no way they can bring all the first years into those living situations under the current situation, because there's no social distancing that's really possible when you have 4 people in a relatively small dorm room. So housing is scrambling to kind of look at how to even be in compliance with the federal and state and health guidelines for what that can be. But no one's going to be punished for not being able to physically come to a class.
Great. We have currently just one last question in our question and answer area. Actually, another one just came up. But here's the next one that we have currently. Will there be modifications made to the honors track requirements for those transferring in 2021, especially for current junior transfers who've had less than 1 year on campus?
I think that answer is yes. I think the requirement to be on campus will be expanded. The interpretation will be expanded. So if you're coming in and wanting to be an honor student and you're junior status ranking, but let's say you're not physically on campus, that literal idea of physically be on campus will not be an issue. If you're on campus in terms of taking classes, so you're enrolled as a student, then you're with us, whether you're physically actually in a dorm on campus or whether you're in New York City, you are part of us. And so that will not be a deterrent towards your honors program progress.
Great. If this pandemic situation miraculously is resolved before the fall quarter starts, will the campus and classes reopen in-person teaching again, or will they remain online?
If we get a vaccine, which I think is what the CDC, the governor's office, UC Medical, the chancellor's office, the 5 or 6 people that I talk to daily for information and what's our progress. If there's a vaccine that can be delivered, that is approved, that is safe, that is proved to work, I said, hallelujah, yes, let's open the school if we have that. I'm not exactly sure that's going to happen in that short time period, but if it did, yes, we would change everything around, and the floodgates would open with many, many people running around, crawling all over each other in the green room, having their Slurpees and sharing their cup of coffee.
Thank you so much. Here's another, well, just as we get down to one final question, more questions come. This is wonderful. Don, I just feel like we should mention as well, is there's this thought that, we all want this thing to be resolved and have something happen, then we all come back. But I just think it's ethically responsible to denote that this could go on the entire year and beyond. So just taking a year off, it might be multiple years off because we don't know the scale of this currently. So I just want to put that out there, not to be doom and gloom, but just denoting that we don't know the scale of this in factuality.
And we don't. And for those who will be either seniors or third-year grad students, if it were me personally, I would hang in there. I would want to get my degree at this time. And so that when things do come back, you're not like, oh, now I got to go back and finish school. Now I'm another year behind. I would seize the moment, and I would seize the moment to, again, explore those areas and all those technologies that you may not even know about right now that we're talking, that could help make you a much more competitive person in the job market. You're at school, so utilize all the things that an education can give you to make your resumes and make your art and make your work stronger and better than ever. That would be my thought. But obviously, everyone's entitled to their own individual decision.
Thank you. There's a question about how will grad in-state tuition versus out-of-state tuition work with funding and financial aid. I think that's a question for financial aid, not necessarily the department. Don, should they go and talk to them about that situation, or do you have some information that you'd like to share?
I would go talk to financial aid because that's a very specific case-by-case situation, and I would not have a clear enough answer to provide.
But for our graduate students, just to have the other framework, how does that work? No. For our graduate students, do they have to worry about being in-state versus out-of-state?
No.
Great.
Not with the COVID-19. So if you were if you were a first year grad student and say you had to leave a month ago and you were out, and all of a sudden you're out of state, that's not going to screw up your out of state status at that point. We understand this is an emergency situation, and so during extraordinary times, there have to be accommodations made. If you're an incoming student and for whatever reason you can't get here this fall, you don't feel safe driving cross country, whatever it is, and you can't get here until January or whatever, as long as you're enrolled in the classes and taking in the classes and your academic standing is you are a student in good standing, all your financial aid, all the rest of it, the clock will start ticking in terms of your counting towards your in-state residency.
Great. We also may have some other information about in-state. I'll post in the chat for those of you who just want some more information on that. Thanks to Vinny for sharing that information. Another question comes up is, obviously it all depends on what the university decides in terms of this health situation evolving, but do we have a loose estimate when undergrads will be able to come back to campus?
I think the hope is January, and I say the hope. We don't know, and there is strong expectation that there will be a new spike, a new surge, whether that's going to hit the end of September, 1st of October, whether that's going to hit over the Christmas holiday. We just don't know. And I think that's the real concern right now is, there's a lot of things opening up right now, and we still don't have a vaccine. So as people get careless or unintended situations happen where the virus could potentially spread, a lot could or could not happen. And I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to say, this is what it is, but we don't. And so I think the hope is that we can come back in January. I think that's what the universe in large is working for. But until we get there, we don't actually know.
Thank you. Is the plan that we still, that question just got shifted. So there's a question about if students want to apply for the Honors in Design program, will there be any special exceptions made for portfolio requirements? Some of the spring projects were canceled and they weren't able to work on those to improve it.
My hope would be yes, but that would be the decision of each individual design faculty member in each of the different disciplines. I would not want to make a blanket decision without their consultation, and I really feel it's up to them. And it may be perhaps there's other research or other projects that students might be able to work on during the summer to show their excitement or their design about a process that they could have in lieu of what got canceled. So again, I would direct those students to their heads within the areas of design for what those faculty members would want.
Thank you, Don. We've exhausted the questions that are in the question and answer document, and we've also exhausted our time. So I think we conclude, and I would encourage folks that still have questions to reach out to your faculty members. We all want to support you. We all want to make sure that there's ways for us to be dealing with the situation in good form that can meet your goals. Don, do you have other things that you'd want to share?
I just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining us today. We have an amazing faculty. We have an amazing new faculty that's coming in this fall. We're here to serve you. Please be in communication and let us know how we can make your time at UCI, even during the time of COVID-19, the best possible experience. We are so open to your ideas and your suggestions, and we're really excited to see what you discover with the new technologies that all of us will be playing with. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.